that once you realize that, the next big thing is coaching and education, who was that first person who trusted on you as a coach or invested in you? If you could tell us that story.
Yes. So the first course that I launched was Google Ads Mastery course. So even though I had this inkling that, hey, courses can perform well, I at least had the distribution on my blog. So I didn't have to advertise my first course. I already had like 10,000 subscribers on my blog, and I kept on delaying it and postponing it for almost a year since the moment I thought that I should launch a course. So there is this guy called Dinesh Chandrasekhar, who is the partner of Bharati, who is a part of Alpha Club. And he was my first customer who made the first transaction for my first course.
A lot of people today are creating content. They're creating, videos on Instagram or maybe blogs or other types of content or newsletters, various kinds of content. But do you think the marketing part is missing? And if it is, what are people doing, and especially coaches? What are they doing wrong there that their distribution is not better?
The way you have to look at content plus marketing is that right now the social media space is very noisy. Earlier, when people said content marketing, they kind of differentiated it from paid marketing, saying that to get customers, you have to run ads and you have to run paid ads on Facebook ads and Google ads was the one way they looked at it. And then content marketing became like an organic marketing strategy where you keep publishing content, and because your content is free, you attract a lot of people through SEO and through organic channels like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and that brings in some traffic. Now, everybody is a content creator. There is no barrier of entry to become a content creator. Right now, you are also creating content, right?
So we do a small rapid fire. I'll give you a word and you just have to tell me whatever comes to your mind. Maybe a word or maybe a sentence.
Okay.
That's up to you. So the first word is content.
Attention.
Okay. Email.
The only asset that you have in your business.
Hello everyone and welcome to the 1% Coaches podcast. The goal of this podcast is to meet the top 1% coaches of India and understand what it takes to be a coach. The other day I received an email which said, "Do you think of me?" I scrolled down and it said, "Do you think of me when you think of digital marketing?" And the answer is yes. I am with the OG himself, Digital Deepak, and I'm sure everyone who is watching this podcast has heard of him. Hi, Didi.
Hi Manmeet. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
Thank you so much for doing this and today sharing all your nuggets as to what it takes to be the 1% coach. I would like to start with this one curious question. What was that one moment where you realized that coaching could actually be a professional business?
So I started my career with a motorcycle blog, and I started because I was bored and I wanted to do some hobby. So in 2008, I graduated and I had a job offer in hand, but they did not call me until 2009 because we were going through the great financial crisis. So when I started the blog, it was a WordPress blog, and I started publishing articles about different motorcycles in the market. Slowly the SEO traffic started coming in. Within 6 months, the blog was making around $100 a month in Google AdSense revenue. And by 2011 and 2012, we were getting 1 million page views a month and 20,000 unique visitors a day. So I always had this mentality that if you keep reinvesting whatever revenue you make back into the business, it can compound and start growing big. So whatever revenue we made from Google AdSense, we hired more writers and kept on publishing more and more articles. But over a period of time, catching up with Google's SEO updates, catching up with the competition's aggressiveness and everything became very difficult. And there is no funnel there. So when you have a funnel, you put $1 in the top, get $2 in the bottom. So here we were just publishing more and more articles, and there was nothing that we could sell to the audience ourselves. So then I moved on to digital marketing jobs. I moved to Bangalore. I sold the blog. I worked in 5 different companies as a digital marketing manager. And in none of these companies, I was able to look at the ad spend and say that this is how much the ROI was. And I started observing when I was working at Instamojo and Razorpay that the clients who were making the most amount of revenue, they were mostly into education and coaching business. So that is where I got the idea that, hey, education and coaching can be a very high profit margin business, and you can put significant portion of that margin back into the advertising and start expanding your business and start compounding it. So that is how it started.
Yeah, and I know you shared enough that those 5 companies were one of the biggest brands that made you learn a lot, and that is how we see the entire journey today. And again, I want take you back to the memory lane, asking you that once you realized that the next big thing is coaching and education, who was that first person who trusted on you as a coach or invested in you? If you could tell us that story.
Yes. So the first course that I launched was Google Ads Mastery course. So even though I had this inkling that, hey, courses can perform well, I at least had the distribution on my blog. So I didn't have to advertise my first course. I already had like 10,000 subscribers on my blog, and I kept on delaying and postponing it for almost a year since the moment I thought that I should launch a course. So one fine day, what happened was that I decided that I will just launch the course without even creating the course. And I did a pre-order that you can order the course and it will be launched 3 weeks later. So there is this guy called Dinesh Chandrasekhar, who is the partner of Bharati, who is a part of Alpha Club. And he was my first customer who made the first transaction for my first course.
Yeah, and I was feeling, the moment I said first, I could see a smile on your face.
Yeah.
And I could understand that you've gotten back to that memory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And one thing that I picked up from your conversation was that you had the distribution for launching the course were very easy for you. I think working in the coaches market as an agency, I've realized that I think this is one mistake that maybe mid-level coaches are doing today. They launch the course and then they try the distribution. Am I correct in understanding? And you're sponsoring that.
The idea is that a lot of people are trying to create the product first and then find a market for it. But I would say find the market for it first. And how do you find the market for it? It depends on your own skill level, whether you are into the health, wealth, or education, fitness niche, whatever niche might be. You need to first get people to pay attention to you before they are ready to pay money to you. And how do you get people to pay attention to you? By creating content and creating a community. The easiest way, or let's say the slow but free way, is to create a lot of organic content, write a lot of blog posts, publish a lot of YouTube videos, and start getting people into a newsletter. And once you get people into a newsletter, then you keep nurturing them. You invite them for webinars once in a while, engage with them, give them an ebook to download for free, call them and speak to them and get a clear idea of who your target customer is. So the 10,000 subscribers that I had on my blog, I first converted them into 2,000 people on my Facebook group. And in the Facebook group, I ran a poll and I asked people what they wanted to learn. And most of them voted that I wanted to learn Google Ads. That is what gave me an idea that let me launch the Google Ads Mastery course first. So the first launch brought in like 2.5 lakh in revenue. And I was also in a job. I was making salary, which was taking care of my personal expenses. So that entire 2.5 lakh, I reinvested back into Facebook ads and expanded my list.
Right. I think that completely validated the offer. And actually, in this scenario, your audience was able to tell you what do we want.
Yeah.
And then, and also when you mentioned that you pre-launched it, so you already knew who are the people investing in you and they're ready to buy. So the entire launch became easy because the distribution was already there. Thank you.
Yes.
Before we move forward, I would love for you to ask, that time it was 10,000. I know this number would be very, very big, but what's the email list right now?
Right now it's 2.5 lakh active people. And the way I look at it is that if you, let's say, want to make tea at home and you boil milk and you put it on simmer and you forgot that for like half an hour, then the milk will keep boiling and all the water content will go away from the milk, right? Then the milk becomes very thick. Then you have tea or coffee with it, it feels very tasty because it's like very condensed milk. So your email list is like that. If you generate 10,000 leads and you keep sending mails to them, over a period of time, a lot of people will unsubscribe and a lot of people will become cold subscribers. But that does not mean that the list will keep decaying down to zero. So the low intent people will go away and then the high intent people will stay for years on your list. So till date, we have generated more than 2 million leads. And then that has been boiled down to 2.5 lakh people on the email list. So I continue to generate thousands of leads every month. And I continue to see a lot of people unsubscribe and go out of my list over a period of time. But then you have this small cohort of people who will buy anything that you launch, will attend your events, attend your webinars, and they will become like super fans. So that super fans will come from, it's like mining, right? Like to get like 1 gram of gold, you probably have to mine several kilograms of rocks, right?
One is sitting here.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you landed up here, right?
Yeah.
You probably saw my content and you were the diamond or the gold in the entire thing that the outreach strategy that we create. So over a period of time, my goal is to generate have an active list of 1 million people on my list, for which I might have to generate 5 million leads and then boil it down to like 1 million people who will be the most active, and they might stay for years and years. Some people stay for like a decade on the email list.
Yes, that's true. I'm really want to highlight here, because we've been talking about the email list and content and building the distribution. And there's this one concept that you really teach, that is the marketing framework. And you always talk about this one concept, which is content plus marketing. A lot of people today are creating content. They're creating, videos on Instagram or maybe blogs or other types of content or newsletters, various kinds of content. But do you think the marketing part is missing? And if it is, what are people doing, and especially coaches? What are they doing wrong there that their distribution is not better?
The way you have to look at content plus marketing is that right now the social media space is very noisy. Earlier, when people said content marketing, they kind of differentiated it from paid marketing, saying that to get customers, you have to run ads and you have to run paid ads on Facebook ads and Google ads was the one way they looked at it. And then content marketing became like an organic marketing strategy where you keep publishing content, and because your content is free, you attract a lot of people through SEO and through organic channels like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and that brings in some traffic. Now, everybody is a content creator. There is no barrier of entry to become a content creator. Right now, you are also creating content, right? So we have seen this explosion of content creation, and so much content is created out there that people don't have enough time to consume all the content. I keep bookmarking all the YouTube videos that I want to watch later. So I keep adding it to a playlist. And right now that is like more than 1,000 videos is like in the backlog. And when I open YouTube, I don't go into my watch later playlist and start watching those videos. That happens rarely when I take a flight. And then I download some videos and I watch some videos, but that is not getting depleted at all. And whenever I open YouTube, I scroll, I see new videos, and then I keep bookmarking them. I don't have time to watch all the videos. So that way, today, if you try to create organic content, then the problem is that the organic content will not market by itself. So when I say content plus marketing, you create the content, and it doesn't matter if you are using paid advertising or not, you have to market it separately. So if you already have a distribution list, already have a community, the content that I create for my, let's say, YouTube podcast, I'm not depending on YouTube's algorithm to give me the distribution. I publish it on YouTube, send a mail to my email list to go watch the video. So most of the views comes from my email list itself. And YouTube might give me automatic recommendations because the video is getting good traction as soon as I publish through my email list. So probably YouTube will look at the watch time, the share, the like, the comment, the ratio, and they will push it to a new audience. But that new audience, even if it is 10-20%, that's like free for you and free distribution for you. That can be like a bonus, but don't depend completely on that free distribution. So you need to have a advertising mechanism, and you need to have a cost per lead. And to get people to opt in into your landing page, you need to give a free lead magnet. So the lead magnet can be like a 30-day email course, or it can be something like a free mini video series. It can be a tool, it can be a calculator, it can be a community access. But people need to give their name, email ID, phone number to you. Unless they do that, they are not your users. Your YouTube subscribers, Facebook followers, Instagram followers, all that, they are not your users. They are Facebook's users. They are YouTube's users. So that is
only distribution.
Yeah, so that is how I look at content marketing, as content plus marketing.
Yes, so there has to be a value driven, and there has to be a traffic source which becomes our best. Yeah. A quick question here. Who was your first ever coach?
So there is this guy called Yaros Tarak.
Okay.
And he runs a blog called Entrepreneur's Journey. And he launched a program called Blogging Mastermind. And that was like $300. I paid $300 to join his course. And that is how BikeAdvice blog was born, because one of Yarostarek students had this blog called Car Advice. So inspired by that, I launched BikeAdvice, and it was a nice community back in 2008.
Right.
Even before Bitcoin was created.
Yeah. You got to that.
Yeah.
Because then the podcast is incomplete without asking.
Yes.
So what I'm understanding is that follow your mentors, learn from them, and do what they are doing, but differently with your own framework.
Yes, exactly. You take inspiration from the mentor.
Yeah.
So you can copy the strategies, but you cannot copy the niche.
Yeah, right. Okay, so I have one more question. Maybe people wouldn't ask this, but I'm curious to know. Did you ever receive one advice which you felt very useless in the beginning, but it actually became a game changer later on? So is there any kind of advice that you remember?
I mean, if at that time when I received that advice, if I thought it was useless, I would probably have not remembered it. I think that would be in terms of digital marketing and in my business, probably I should not have invested or spent so much money on premium domain names. Somebody told me that, hey, why do you need all these premium domain names? You can run business on any domain name that you want, but I have this OCD for, if I want to launch a brand, like, recently I've launched Micro Startup. I could not have launched it unless I had microstartup.com. So deepmarketing.com, pixeltrack.com, learntoday.com, hightraffic.com. So like that, I have invested so much money in premium domain names, imagining that or expecting that each of these brands can become $1 billion brand one day.
And they will.
And they will. Yes, thank you for that. But the ROI is yet to be justified. And if I had invested all this money in Bitcoin, it would have been millions of dollars today.
Yes, we got the Bitcoin as well. One question I want to know, one of the challenges all the coaches are facing today, whether they are doing VSL funnel, whether they're doing a webinar funnel, no matter what the funnel is, the show up on those funnels or maybe the sales show up, whatever method they're using, the show up is decreasing, the intent is decreasing. And I feel as an agency that emails could be a big part because all of them are not leveraging email and nurturing. But I think that is one of your best strategies. So could you tell us that what do you think, why this is happening and why the show up rate is increasing for coaches by not using email marketing?
Okay. So one of the reasons is that scarcity creates value. So 2019 is when most of the people started doing webinars on Zoom. And when there was a live call, it was highly valued because not everybody was doing it. So today everybody is saying that, hey, I will teach you this, I will teach you that, come to my live call. There are so many things to choose from and people are overwhelmed with choice, which means that they are going to be more selective. Yes. So let's say, for an example, there is like a tier 2 city and a boy and a girl are both looking for a partner. And they get onto a dating app and there are hardly any options. And two people match with each other. The guy is saying, hey, can we go out for a date? There is a very high likely that the girl will show up, right? If you are in a city, the ratio of dating apps is like there are 80% men and less than 20% women. And in such a scenario, the women are getting a lot of requests for connections, conversations, dates and everything. Now, how will the women choose that who should I choose to go out on a date with? She will probably chat with a bunch of people, take some time to build a relationship with them online, like a very high level relationship, to make sure that this guy is not a creep. And after that, this guy says that, hey, we have been like having a conversation for like 2-3 weeks right now and it has been going well. Why don't we meet? So the girl is now going to be more choosy because there are more options.
Okay.
So now the same thing applies here, that if you are running an ad asking people to register for a webinar and show up for a webinar, people are not showing up and people are more selective. So how do you make sure that you build a relationship good enough that people are taking out the time, because time is also money, time is also attention.
And it's also limited these days.
It is very limited. Yeah. So the person is going to choose whose webinar to attend live. And the best way to have a conversation with them and continue the conversation with them is via email marketing, because here we are not talking about one person showing up. We are talking about hundreds of people showing up.
Yes.
Which means that you cannot have a conversation with hundreds of people manually. So that is why you use email marketing automation. So instead of asking people to come to a webinar directly, Ask them to sign up for your newsletter, give away a lead magnet like a 30-day email course. And then people keep receiving your email. They feel like, hey, these emails are of very good value. And then now they are more likely to show up on your webinar. So till date, in the past 6 years of my coaching business, I have never advertised a webinar directly. I have advertised only my lead magnet. And I invite people to my webinar through my email list. And that is where I do my sales webinars and everything. And I have had 30-40% webinar show up rate of the signups which come from the email list, because email list is the platform where I'm advertising my webinar. Facebook and Google is the platform where I'm advertising my email newsletter or my lead magnet. So there is one step of separation. Instead of advertising your product on Facebook or Google, you're advertising your content. And then you're advertising your product, in this case, let's say a webinar in which you do a pitch, you're advertising that on the email list.
Right. I remember last year when you said that when your webinars are not advertised on the ads, but in the emails. And I remember even when we had the Digital Freelancer Summit last year, where, close to 500 people in person showed up in evening. All of that also was your
from the email list.
Every time ad what you add is only for a free resource to opt in. And then everything, the selling that happens is inside the email list. So your cost per acquisition also reduces, and this is in your control, because the lead that you might have got of the ad is way different if you would have directly asked them to attend something and talk to a conference.
Exactly.
If I'm saying it correctly.
Yes. That's exactly right.
Okay. What is the one skill that every coach should have, no matter which niche they are working in?
Write 1,000 words every day. It will give you clarity. It will be a good note-taking app for you. Your blog is your note-taking app. Your newsletter is the note-taking app. I do not have any notes which I maintain internally, because you never manage it properly. But when you have a website or newsletter where you are putting your notes publicly and people are watching it, then you have an incentive to maintain it. So that way, all my digital marketing notes is basically the Digital Deepak blog. And even if I go on a webinar and I present a concept, the clarity comes because of writing. And I don't see many coaches have a writing habit, because they are all into reels, YouTube videos, webinars, and then they get them into coaching programs directly. Where is your email? Where is your book? Like, where do you write? Because writing is thinking.
Right.
Because when you have a fuzzy thought in your head, you get an inspiration or something. When you actually write it, then those thoughts become very structured and very clear. That's what helps you talk better, because you think better. You think better because you have to write.
Right. So I think I'm getting one go-to strategy for a growing business is writing. As any coach, writing is the way to go. Yeah. Didi, could you share with us your tool stack as a coach? What are the kind of tools that you use to maintain the coaching business?
So the entry point is a landing page. For landing page, we use Elementor, and it is hosted on WordPress. And I have been experimenting with different tools, and in the future I might launch my own landing page tool as well. And once people opt in, then they get like a welcome call. So generally putting a list of numbers and putting an automated call, people do not appreciate generally. But if it is very contextual and timed, that they opted in on a website and then a call is coming and it's an automated call, then it kind of works very well. So there is a tool called Obliger, or Obliger, however you call it, obligr.com. And that tool helps you set up an API where as soon as somebody opts in on your landing page, a welcome call is sent to them automatically, and it is connected via Pabbly to your landing page or Zapier. And then you use Pabbly for the automation. So all the leads that come into the landing page, it is also populated on a Google Sheet, which becomes the source of truth. Because when it goes to your email marketing tool, maybe not all the emails are captured. Sometimes the email marketing tool asks people to double opt-in. And when double opt-in is required, some of the leads might kind of go out of your bucket. So you capture everything on a Google Sheet, and then using Pabbly or Zapier, you set up an automation so that it is added to a CRM. So the ConvertKit is the CRM that I am using. And from there, you use Zoom webinars, and primarily the email marketing that I do via ConvertKit is it's like my bank account. The email list, the email list that I have in ConvertKit is like my bank account, because whenever I want to do a new launch, I send an email through my ConvertKit account, and I can make revenue from the launch.
Yes, and he receives early morning emails.
Yeah.
Because Didi is writing right in the morning.
Yeah.
I would just want to know, what is on an average or rough operational cost for any coach who is doing good enough to get started? So what is an average operational cost?
See, if you want to just get started, you need a landing page tool and a WordPress blog, which will cost you something like 1,000 rupees a month, 1,500 rupees a month, probably. Your email CRM might cost you around 2,000, 3,000 a month. So let's say 5,000. And then you need like a Calendly or a Zoom subscription, add another 1,000. I can't think of anything else. Like the starting cost can be as less as 10,000 rupees. And as you scale your audience, then you go to higher and higher tiers on Zoom, ConvertKit, and every tool that you have. And then it starts like adding up. So for me, the fixed cost of tools alone is more than like 1.5 lakhs a month.
Yeah.
Because I have a very large email list.
Yes. Which actually, is the biggest asset in the business as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And we do a small rapid fire. I'll give you I'll give you a word and you just have to tell me whatever comes to your mind. Maybe a word or maybe a sentence.
Okay.
That's up to you. So the first word is content.
Attention.
Perfect. Email.
The only asset that you have in your business.
Shifu.
Happiness.
Oh, nice. DDIP.
Revolution.
Nice. Coaching.
The one thing that everybody needs.
Oh, and Sandhya.
Support system.
Nice. One last question that it would be incomplete if I don't ask that question. Since you've been following Bitcoin, we've been learning about Bitcoin from you. What is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about Bitcoin? And you would like to tell them that this is one of the biggest misconceptions.
They think that it will go to zero because it is digital and it does not have intrinsic value.
Yes, and why should we invest in Bitcoin?
Don't get me started.
Okay, one liner. Let's go.
One liner is Bitcoin is economic immortality.
Yeah.
If you want to save your time and energy that you can use later, then you have to buy Bitcoin. I call it saving in Bitcoin rather than investing in Bitcoin, because if you are investing in a company, that company is going to use the funds to spend. But Bitcoin is a digital commodity. If you want to save yourself and save your family from future economic uncertainties, then take Bitcoin seriously.
Oh, thank you so much, Didi. Didi has so much information on Bitcoin. We'll put the link of his Bitcoin newsletter as well in the description. One last advice for all the coaches who are listening to us today.
Start building an email list and start writing regularly and start nurturing your email list. And think of your coaching business in 10-year terms, not in yearly terms.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Didi. Thank you
Yes.
for your time and sharing all the golden nuggets.
Yes,
Thank
thanks a lot, Manmeet.
you.